Good. Everybody, please stand for the salute to our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Roll, please. Here. 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 Okay, we don't have any applications tonight, and there's no holdovers. I guess the only thing we do have is a couple resolutions that need to be memorialized. The first one, what's that first one?
Mr. Chairman, yeah, it's the Mahmoud Zayed application, 52 Albert Drive, was heard last month. It was for a driveway extension and a detached garage, which the board approved with a number of conditions which have been put in the resolution. There's no questions or amendments. It can be approved.
Any questions on the resolution? We have a motion.
I move it be approved as written.
Joan, roll call, please. Yes.
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 And the last resolution is a,
Mr. Chairman, the, excuse me, the resolution actually is to be considered. We, as the board's aware, every year the board does a report, which Mr. Barry prepares. It's a digest of all the applications. Excuse me, and the report needs to be reviewed, and John will present it to you, and then adopted, and then a copy gets forwarded by law to the planning board and the mayor and council. So I'll let John present the report. The resolution was prepared with no recommendations or comments. We can certainly amend it if anybody has any comments. Otherwise, it's the basic form that says we reviewed, adopted it, and just providing copies.
okay, thank you. John?
Sure. So good evening, everybody. Briefly, so the report is the activity that was undertaken in 2021. So we got it in just under the wire. We had 26 applications that came before the board. Most of these are the homeowner style bulk variances, some pools, fences, a couple additions. We had six use variance applications. No real pattern, rhyme or reason to them. We had the solar panels at the Epic Church. We had the changes to the parking lot at the Epic Church, two separate applications. We had two separate applications that were dealing with trailer refurbishment and that sort of business, one on Hartle Street and the other on Route 35. And then a cell phone application, which we have, usually one a year or so. And then the Dunkin' Donuts application over by ShopRite on Washington Road. Nothing in particular that rises to the level of recommendations for those applications. The only thing I noted as far as the homeowner patterns is we continue to see requests for larger garages than what's permitted in the ordinance. It's not something that may necessarily rise to any particular action. Just note that seems to be a common request. And we've had 2020, we saw a ton of pool applications, pandemic, people were, kind of trapped, had nowhere to go. And we saw a little drop in those, but still a fair number in 2021. I don't know if there's any long-term trends moving forward with pool setback issues, but we can continue to monitor that as the board. So that's really it. And just for everybody's reference, the borough's master plan reexamination report will need to be done over the next couple of months. We've been authorized to undertake that starting probably right after the first of the year. And so we may review some of the activity that the board has had. I don't know if any particular recommendations will come out of that process, but I can fill the board in as we go along on that.
How many towns do you work for, John?
Firm works for, in one capacity or another, probably about 40 or 45 towns right now.
Because you made mention about our garages. Are we out of the ordinary? Is this not the norm, or other towns allow this?
It's a mix. So I think Sayreville's on the smaller side for what's permitted.
Okay.
I don't know the origin, J-Man. Yeah.
This goes back a number of years ago. There was a period where people were
building garages. They had second stories. They were running businesses out of the second stories. They were storing things in them that they weren't supposed to, that were creating problems for the neighborhood.
Sure.
And they didn't really need to do any permits. They were just going through and getting a permit for a garage and making all kinds of conversions. It was difficult from an enforcement standpoint. So they decided to go through and reduce the allowable size. That way, if anybody wanted to put a garage up, they'd have to come before the board. The board could look at the height. You could look at whether it's a second story. You could look at whether they've got any business use. So you can try to limit to what they're, in your resolutions, you could limit what the garage is going to be used for. So that, and this goes back 15, 20 years, maybe even longer.
Yeah, that makes sense. Thank you, Jay. That made total sense. Mhm.
In one particular case, the garage was bigger than the house by considerable amount.
No, it's not a crazy volume, not hearing 4 or 5 of them a month. It's, six, 8 a year. And if it's serving its intended function, then I wouldn't recommend, if it's a necessary safeguard on preventing activity that the borough doesn't want to see, then maybe it's doing what it's supposed to do.
Thanks. Any other questions on the report? Is this something we would approve tonight or until next year? How does that work?
Might as well do it tonight unless the board has any questions or they want to suggest any recommendations to the mayor and council to look at the ordinance, like on the garages. If nobody has any changes, you want to make a recommendation like that, the resolution I prepared, we can adopt. It just basically says we reviewed the report, it's attached and, forwarding a copy to the mayor and council. So might as well act on it and close the year out.
Okay, great. Any other questions on?
Would you mention that we have no recommendations? Would that be something?
Yeah, it's in there. It just basically says, the board does not make any recommendation for zoning ordinance amendments or revisions. And the report's attached, and like I said, then it gets distributed.
Any other questions on the report? Do I have a motion to approve?
So moved to approve.
Joan, roll call? Yes.
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 Okay, last but not least, the minutes. Anybody have any questions on the minutes? If not, could we have a motion
Move to approve the minutes of last meeting.
for a second? Everybody in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, and the only thing I would like to do, I know Carl had sent in his letter of resignation, or I guess you could call it that, or
Yeah.
for as effective tomorrow. I don't know how many years you've been here now, 3 or 4? A number of
It's
years.
been at least 4, yeah.
Yeah, and you really served us well. And I wanted to thank you for your help and your guidance on all of these applications that we have. Any other comments at all, or?
Great job. Really, you'll be missed.
Nice of you all to say, and it's been great. Thank you, Joan. It's been great working with you and Andy. I wish Andy was here too tonight. And of course, Jay and John, it's been a great relationship working with everybody. The board, we've had different board members over the years. You guys, since I'm leaving, I'm not trying to curry a favor. You guys are a good board, one of the better ones I've represented. Everyone seems to really care about doing the right thing for the right reason. You ask good questions. Chairman and I, speak, and before Ronnie as well, issues that come up to make sure we're understanding what our legal responsibilities are and we're handling applications properly, considering the right issues and applying the law correctly. So it's been a very good, it's been a good run. Going to miss working with you guys, especially Jay and John. We talked a lot, but thank you, and wish everyone and their families happy holidays.
And you, same to you too.
Yeah, I'd like to say you're always prepared and always thinking ahead of what can happen. So it was very good.
Again, I have a lot of insight and help with John and Jay. We talk off the record and before meetings. Jay and I, as you can see, we're always talking about things. So we all kind of complement each other. So a lot of that knowledge and information you're talking about, I often glean from Jay and John.
Ready. Any other comments from the board?
I have a quick question. So the quick check that we approved, it's beautiful. I don't know if anyone's been there. It's awesome. And the only issue, I got gas there a few times And I don't know if we have any recourse once it's built, but it seems as if I'm on the macadam and a couple of people would like jam their brakes on thinking I was going to hit them when I was just trying to line myself up with the gas tank. So I noticed they have an island, big island between the, the gas pumps, the macadam and an island. Can we somehow make them cut into that island to make it a little wider? We have no recourse whatsoever. Can we suggest it nicely? I'm just saying people panicked and there's going to be an accident.
That's what you'd have to do. The site plan was approved. They're
Yeah.
required only to do what's on the site plan. So you can't go after the fact and tell them, we want you to plant more trees, we want you to make islands bigger. those
Okay.
type of things. You can approach them if there's a issue that you feel is maybe a safety concern.
Mhm.
And Carl, I don't even know if it's the board that should do that, but maybe through the zoning office.
Yeah, because
Possibly
really,
something.
really, once the board acts, we kind of lose jurisdiction, but
Okay.
yeah, I mean, somebody in town could have that conversation with, I guess, the manager of the station. If they were inclined to, they could come back and, do a quick sketch, obviously, just send it to Jay to see if it needs to come back for a site plan amendment, or if it's small enough to change that they can be approved administratively.
Okay.
So, it could get resolved if they decide to, but there's, again, we have no legal right to force them to change.
Gotcha. So the BA would do that. also.
Is there a process for once the site plan is approved, once it's built? Probably this or some other problem comes up. we can, some sort of make a note of it, or this happens again, or new site plan?
Well, I mean, it's one of those things, kind of live and learn, so to speak. So, next time you have something like this, you're probably going to take a longer look at it and say, yeah, we had that issue with Quick Check, that when it was actually operating, it didn't quite work as smoothly as we thought. So maybe this next one, we look at it a little tighter and see if they'll make a wider island there, or again, striping, or have concrete farther away from the actual pumping station. So it's clear that the car there is getting gas versus navigating the parking lot. You see,
Make a note of that, future boards, or not?
well, Jay's got a great memory, so I'm sure he'll remember. But for board members too, I mean, I'm sure if you really think back of the applications you've heard since you've been here, there's probably things you've seen and be like, what, next time we want to go into more detail, we want to do this. So it's kind of, learn from your experience.
You think it's not worth it? Do you think it's worth a conversation? You're the boss. Is it something you want, maybe the BA should look into, or you think we should just can it?
I wouldn't know how to approach something like that. Like you said, it's been approved already. It's maybe a safety concern that you think of. Maybe other people don't think it's a safety concern. That would be something I would suggest that,
Yeah, which department?
I wouldn't know what to suggest.
The BA, do we have a BA? Do we even have a BA at this point? I have no idea.
Probably.
Interim,
soon.
or would that be something a BA would, that's their job, right? Or no, am I wrong? No, I'm wrong.
Make that a one-way, it's probably talking about when you turn it in, right? Just with the lined up, 'cause that's what I see. I know exactly what you're talking about.
It's not even the in, it's when I'm trying to line up for the gas. So and I don't have a big car, but Jeep, but as I'm going out, the front of my car sticks way out because the gas pump, it's, an island, but the gas pump isn't here, it's here. So I have to go all the way out, and I take up part of the road that cars are going back and forth on,
Are you facing Bordentown?
facing Bordentown. Yeah. Now, if I went the other way, yeah, but how many, people don't know, they just go, right? So it could be me. This is obviously maybe just me here, but
So it is technically on the left side.
Yeah.
There's people that come in, walk,
Yeah.
go around,
Mhm.
instead of going kind of like.
agreed, right? Might be, yeah. Okay, so we'll just kill it?
I think if the problem extended off-site where it impacted Bordentown or Cheesequake, then
Yes.
it's easier for the borough to get involved at that point, but something that's on site, that they complied with your standards,
Mhm.
I don't know that you really can get involved with that. at this point.
Gotcha. Okay, well, it's good to make a note of it for next time. It's a good point.
I mean, if God forbid there becomes a history of accidents, then it's a little different. scenario.
Right. Okay.
And there's still, just for information, there's still work to be done at that intersection because of the warehouses under construction on Cheesequake Road. that intersection is going to be widened where those curb returns are. It's going to be wider and you're going to have new signalization put in. So there is going to be some work done to that intersection.
Oh, that's great. Good to know.
Since we're talking about, it's you brought up accidents, I'm just curious, this is more for Jay. That Dunkin' Donuts on, Raritan, is there anything, I know there wasn't there a study about traffic pulling in, going towards Route 9? The light going towards Route 9, I have seen accidents.
I think there have been complaints about that in the past. That's a county road, so I think they've been brought to the attention of the county. And I think there was never any decision to do anything with it.
I mean, I've seen it back up into the left lane all the way to the right. It's-
Hopefully it'll be alleviated with that new Dunkin' Donuts, but the point is good. Yeah, it's crazy.
it's-
Crazy Saturday
You
morning is
hit it at the
terrible.
right time. and it's-
Yeah.
Any other comments from the board?
Litigation, we don't have anything. right?
No, it's been quiet, like I say, after adopting the resolution for the report, we're really wrapped up the year nicely, kind of clean slate going into next year.
I guess there's no update on the temple about,
Nothing new, still status quo.
still owe you money.
No money.
Didn't pay any of it down?
Every so often they'll come in, I think, to the construction office and talk about permits and talk about doing different things. And they're advised, well, your approvals have expired at this point. You owe the town money. And then it just kind of goes away for a while. I think that's how it was left, was that their approval has gone. There were certain extensions that were granted because of COVID and other reasons. I think that it's gone beyond that. So I would think that they'd have to apply, I guess, for Carl from a legal
Yeah.
standpoint, but I think that's what would have to happen.
Yeah, no, that's correct.
Alrighty, I didn't open it up to the public. Anybody from the public wish to speak? Have motion to close it to the public?
So moved.
All in favor, say aye. Make a motion for adjournment?
So moved.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Everybody have a great holiday season.
Merry Christmas, Happy New Year.